I'm sorry, it's actually very common.
Okay.
More than 4 out of 5 people deal with financial stress continually. So
Wow.
yes, it's definitely something that's very common among people, even though we don't tend to talk about money and our stress around money too much.
Hmm. I could imagine you get stressed. I mean, who doesn't stress about money at times? You know, depending upon what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish, you know,
Yes.
what goals you have set for your life. I think for me, I always think about, you know, teaching my daughter about money when I wasn't taught about money. So it's like I had to learn kind of from the burn, and then me trying to teach her the right thing so she doesn't learn from the burn, and sometimes she still wants to learn from the burn, which I don't get, but you know, but you know, we all have our ways of learning, but just being a parent and making sure that the financial literacy is a piece that I give her, because I didn't necessarily get it from my parents, you know.
Absolutely.
Definitely help. Now, what are some symptoms, and then how do I know if I'm experiencing it?
So yeah, you know, one of the things I wanted to go into that about is what you said, like who doesn't experience stress around money, especially at some point in your life.
Right.
I think the time that we need to start worrying about it or paying a little more attention to it is when you kind of hit that tipping point. Um, I think if you all know about the continuum of stress, you know, there's a level of stress that's actually good. We call that eustress.
Mm.
And that's the kind of stress that motivates us, that gets us going, that, you know, really revs up our engine, right? Okay,
Okay.
stress, that's the other end of the continuum. That kind of has an opposite effect. That's more of one that's going to pull you down, okay? So distress becomes a lot of times unproductive and works against us. It's the opposite of motivating us. And
Mm.
so if you kind of tip the scale in terms of your financial stress into more of the distress area, some of the things that you're going to encounter, if it's just general anxiety symptoms, it includes things like rumination, like excessively worrying about something, becoming very obsessive in your worry. More physical symptoms might be things like having problems sleeping. Mentally, you may find yourself having difficulty focusing or concentrating on things.
Mhm.
Irritability, that's another one. If you find, you know, that you're more irritable than usual, that's
Mhm.
a sign for you that you need to check in and look at your levels of anxiety and kind of what's going on inside. Now, when we try to, or when we attach that anxiety to money specifically, what you
Mhm.
might see in someone who's dealing with that would be things like overspending,
Okay.
relying entirely. Now, I think we all need help. We all have support, but we're talking about relying entirely on somebody to deal with your finances.
Mm.
Or could be the other end of the spectrum, not dealing with your finances at all. Kind of
Yeah.
that's that approach of like, if I don't look at it, it's not there.
Mhm.
That would be something. Another common one that we see with financial anxiety that wouldn't probably be what most people would think of is when people find themselves giving a lot of money to just freely giving money out to their adult children or adult relatives, almost becoming like the bank.
Okay.
Another one that is also surprising is discomfort in proceeding and succeeding and becoming more financially successful. Um,
Mm.
you know, that's that's a conundrum in a way if you think about it. But a lot of people do. They have a fear as they become more and more financially stable and successful. They start having a lot of discomfort around the thought of that, and that can manifest in different ways. Um, let's see. You know, saving money is absolutely number one best thing to do a lot of times. But when we talk about symptoms on the anxiety scale, we're talking about distress, not eustress. We're talking about saving money in a way where you're hoarding it. And that can look a couple different ways. That could be that could be just a sense of fear, anxiety, like absolute aversion to like letting go of the money. And we're talking about in needed places like buying
Mhm.
food and mortgage and so forth. Or it can look or manifest in a way where you're hoarding your money. So we're talking about, again, think of extremes. So, of course it's, we know that it's good practice to save money, but we're talking about an extreme sense. So if you know about hoarding in general, if you see all the TV shows, they have hoarding and so forth, think about that, apply that to money. This is the person who has some mason jars all stuffed up in their room and under their bed full of money. Okay,
Right.
so